And greetings. Hi. I was just praying before our class. Father, open the eyes of our hearts. You know what? That's the eyes that we need to have opened. The eyes of our minds are so important. The eyes of our hearts. You know, we get understanding. No, we get knowledge. Knowledge gives us understanding, and the understanding is what's going to give us wisdom. Wisdom to choose the right and to reject the wrong before Yehovah. Well, we've got some very interesting things to talk about today. We're continuing our adventure in Torah, and specifically with Jacob. Bless his heart. He is a man who loves Yehovah. I'm a man who loves Yehovah. I want to have Yehovah speak to me like he speaks to Jacob. Jacob, in the last chapter that we went through, saw that the countenance of Laban and his sons had turned from him. He'd served Laban for 20 years. 14 years for his two daughters. He didn't get anything out of it. Room and board and the girls. And he was tricked, really, into serving for the second 7 years. Then he was ready to go home, and he talked him into staying an extra 6 years. Well, it was actually an indefinite period at that point. But after 6 years, the countenance of Laban and his sons turned against him, and Yehovah said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers and to your family, and I will be with you. Oh my goodness. Father, speak to me like that. You know, he didn't say return to the land of your fathers and your family, and I will forsake you and let you be destroyed by all the people who want to hurt you. No, he said, I will be with you. You know, I was thinking today, there's a lot of promises that Yehovah made to Jacob and Abraham and Isaac that pertain to Israel's seed. The Ezra men who cut covenant with him by slaughter on Passover. We can claim those promises, but we've got to know what they are. And we've got to know the one who made them and understand that what he says, he does. Well, here he made a promise. Getting ready to leave. Jacob's wise enough to know that Laban isn't going to be thrilled with him leaving. Not at all. And so he slips out the back, Jack. Well, he is shearing sheep. And as they do that, Rachel steals, here it is right here, 19. Rachel, it says, now Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the household idols that were her father's. Does that sound like a good thing to do? Why would we, Israel's seed, remember, she's bone of Jacob's bone, flesh of Jacob's flesh. Would Jacob want those? Of course not. But this is Rachel. There's some challenges in the personality of Rachel. Well, he stole away. It says Jacob stole away unknown to Laban the Syrian. He did not tell him where he intended to flee. Well, so what does Laban do? He goes and he seeks his idols. Not the ones that she took. They were gone. He had to go find some other ones. His Elohim. You know, they confuse Elohim with idols. They call them Elohim, but they're idols. They're idols. That's the second commandment. The first commandment is you shall have no other lawmakers and judges besides me. He brought us out of the land of Egypt. For me, it was the land of the United States. Well, he's going after Jacob. Jacob's got a 3-day head start. Of course, Jacob's moving a lot of people and a lot of cattle. His women and children, women and sons on camels. They're not going fast. Laban is going to go after him with many of his relatives. Do you think that Laban is going to do good to Jacob? No. He's coming to take his daughters back. He's probably going to take the silver and the gold and the sheep and the goats and the camels and the donkeys and the cattle back. But I think it's so interesting that Yehovah intervenes on Jacob's behalf. We're going to see the same thing. I forget if we're going to see it today or if we're going to see it next week. But we're going to see the same thing happen once again when it looks like bad things are going to happen to Jacob and his company, his entourage. And Yehovah is going to intervene like he did here with Laban. He spoke to Laban in a dream by night. He said, be careful that you speak to Jacob neither good or bad. Oh, okay. I think is interesting. He talks to the heathen more in dreams, and he talks to Jacob in visions and dreams. What did he talk to him in? What appeared did it say? Just out of curiosity. It just says Yehovah spoke to Jacob. It doesn't say in a dream. So was it in a vision? Maybe it was in a vision. I don't know. All right. So where was I? Did I pass it? There it is. Okay. So now he catches him at the Galad Mount. Now, I think this is really interesting too. And you see this often in Torah. They name the place, the mountain, they call it the mountains of Gilead. It's the Galad Mount. And it's the Galad Mount that is going to be created when they put stones in a very high hill as a sign to not go beyond those to do each other harm. But the whole land is going to be called the land of Gilead in the future. But it comes from the Galad Mount, where they're stacking these things up and they're going to have a slaughter on it. So now Laban catches Jacob. What have you done that you have stolen away unknowns to me, carried my daughters like captives? He says, I might have sent you away with joy. Well, we know that's not true. Look at the attitude that he has. And it's in my power to do you harm. But, he says in 31:29, the Elohim of your father spoke to me last night. Be careful that you speak to Jacob neither good or bad. Now he says, why did you steal away my gods? Well, Jacob answers him. Where is it? Here it is. 31:32. Practically the next verse. With whomever you find your Elohims. Yeah, quantitative plural. Do not let them live. And he says, do not let him live. Well, he doesn't know that it's Rachel that took him. Well, I think it's interesting that within a year and a half, Rachel's going to die. Do you think maybe it's related to this, in a sense, a curse that Jacob put out, saying, let whoever took them die. Do not let him live. I wonder. Well, he looked, he couldn't find him. Finally, Laban decides they're going to make a covenant, a cutting. Where is that? They're going to make a cut. Here it is right here, 31:44. They're going to make a cutting. It's a baret. It's a covenant. But you make a covenant by a cutting. You kill the lamb or the goat, and you stand between the pieces and you say, let this happen to me. If I fail to be honorable concerning this covenant that we're making. This is what we do at Passover. Father, let it happen to me if I don't obey you the way I'm supposed to do. That's what's happening. Of course, Yehovah, he's always faithful to do what he says he's going to do. It's us that's not as faithful. They called, here, it says Laban called it Yegar Aduta, but Jacob called it Gilead. Galad. It's the Galad Mount. Galad. The Galad Mount. The Galad. Mount of the Galad. It was so important that this land, like I say, was named after this mount and the story that took place in this chapter. It said that Laban called it Mizpah, and we saw Mizpah was in that area as well. Well, look what it says. This heap. This is the mount. This is the word that they use here for this. This heap is, it is mount. It is Galad. It's the Gal. It's a heap. It's the Gal. This Gal, this hill, this mountain, Hargal, and this pillar is a witness that I will not pass beyond this heap to you, and you will not pass beyond this heap and pillar to me for harm. Well, it seems like things are going pretty well, doesn't it? It finishes by saying, and the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Nahor, the Elohim of their fathers judged between us. And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. It says, and Jacob, this is the same word twice, once being used as a noun and the other one being used as a verb. And it says, he slaughtered a slaughter. It's zavik. Zavik used as a verb and used as a noun. He slaughtered a slaughter. This is what we do at Passover. A slaughter is something that we eat after we've made a covenant. So that's exactly what they're doing here. And then it says, and early in the morning, Laban arose, kissed his sons and daughters, and blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned to his place. What a nice man! Or so it would seem. Now we get to find out about the rest of the story. Here it is in Yasher. We're going to pick it up in verse 36. Here's where he left off last week. And it was in the course of time that he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and that which was our father's, he has acquired all this glory. They're jealous. He's, according to them, taking away the family wealth. Yet, we saw last week that Laban changed the deal with Jacob 10 times, it says. And each time, every time he changed it, Yehovah just said, okay, well, you want the spotted ones? I'll give Jacob the striped ones. And Jacob always came out ahead. He had the blessing of Yehovah on his life. So, picking up on 36. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban and his sons. And behold, it was not towards him in those days as it had been before. And Yehovah appeared to Jacob at the expiration of 6 years and said unto him, it says he appeared to him, it's a vision. Arise, go forth out of this land and return to the land of thy birthplace, and I will be with thee. And Jacob arose at that time, and he mounted his sons. Yes, it says children. I know that Dinah is there. It says sons. This is what it says in Torah, is sons. Interesting. The ladies, especially the daughters, are not counted. You know what? Is it possible that Jacob had more than one daughter? I think it is. And the reason that they're not even counted is because she is going to play a major role in the future with Shechem. Not only the man Shechem, but the town of Shechem. I wonder if there was other girl childs among his children. Jacob rose up at that time, and he mounted his sons and his women and all belonging to him upon camels. And he went forth to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. And Laban did not know that Jacob had gone from him, for Laban had been that day shearing sheep. And Rachel stole her father's images. And she took them, and she concealed them upon a camel, upon which she sat. And she went on. And this is the manner of the images. Listen to what they use for these images. It's appalling. In taking a man who is firstborn and slaying him, and taking the hair off his head, and taking salt and salting the head and anointing it with oil, then taking a small tablet of copper or a tablet of gold and writing the name upon it. The name upon it. You know, the Jews refuse to say Yehovah's name. They say Hashem. This is how that would be translated. But I don't think they're referring to necessarily Hashem or the name. I think they've got some other name that they're using, writing the name Hashem upon it, and placing the tablet under the tongue, and taking the head with the tablet under the tongue and putting it in the house, and lighting up lights, candles, before it, and bowing down to it. I put O-M-E, oh my Elohim. Is this what Rachel took? How many of them did she take? Well, here's the rest of the story. And at that time, when they bowed down to it, it speaketh to them in all the matters that they ask of it, through the power of the name, which is written in it. And some make them in figures of men. This is another way of making these idols. They make them in figures of men, of gold, silver, and go to them in times known to them, and the figures receive the influence of the stars and tell the future things. And in this manner were all the images which Rachel stole from her father. So she didn't steal the really heinous ones. She stole the evil ones. I put, well, these weren't as gruesome as the former description, but it says, here, let me open it this way, but it says a lot about Rachel. Remember, Rachel, what did they say? She was beautiful of form and appearance. Well, she's lovely on the outside, but not so much lovely on the inside. I put inside, not so much. I don't want a Rachel. I like the form and appearance. I'm a guy. But I want the heart of a Leah. Rachel stole these images, which were her father's, in order that Laban might not know through them where Jacob had gone. Oh, well, isn't that so sweet of her? She's trying to protect Jacob. Think that's really what's going on? Or is it possible that she fears the strength of these idols more than she fears the Elohim of Jacob? I wonder. And Laban came home and asked concerning Jacob and his household. And he was not found. And Laban sought his images to know where Jacob had gone and could not find them. And he went to some other images and he inquired of them. And they told him that Jacob had fled from him to his fathers, to the land of Canaan. I think it might be to his father's land in Canaan, perhaps. And Laban then rose up and he took his brothers. Well, Laban only has one brother. So he took his brothers. Sachar, Laban. Bethuel's sons were Sachar, Laban, and their sister Rebekah. Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau, of course. It says, took his brothers and all his servants. Well, I think it's more than brothers. I think it's cousins. I think it's relatives, uncles, servants of all those people. And he went to pursue Jacob and overtook him in Ha-Galad Mount. At the mount. Again, the mount hasn't even been created yet. But they call that the area because of the people who are going to be reading this in the future. Oh, I know where that is. Yeah, Ha-Galad Mount. There it is right there. And David said to Jacob, what is this thou hast done to me? Gee, have we heard that before? Do you remember when Laban gave Jacob Leah instead of Rachel, and the next morning, this is exactly what Jacob said. What is this thou hast done to me? I served thee 7 years for Rachel, and you gave me Leah. Now he's saying it. What is this you've done to me, to flee and deceive me and to lead my daughters and their children as captives taken by the sword? Whose daughters are they? I said, oh, this is a bit dramatic. How about Jacob's women and his sons? That's where he's going. That's who he took with him. And he certainly didn't take him by the sword. But you know what? No, I'm going to save that. I'm not going to say that just yet. And thou didst not suffer me to kiss them and send them away with joy. And thou didst steal my Elohim and didst go away. And Jacob answered Laban, saying, because I was afraid lest thou would take thy daughters by force from me. This is exactly what's going on. This is why he's coming after Jacob. Yehovah intervened. But that's not going to stop Laban. He's got another plan. We're going to see it in a moment. because I was afraid lest thou would take thy daughters by force from me. And now with whomever thou findest thy Elohim, he shall die. And Laban searched for the images, and he examined in all of Jacob's tents and furniture, but he could not find them. And Laban said to Jacob, we will make a covenant. There it is. We will make a cutting, a slaughter, a barit, a cutting together. And it shall be a testimony between me and thee, if thou shalt afflict my daughters, or shalt take other wives besides my daughters, whatever that has to do with anything, even Elohim shall be witness between me and thee in this matter. And they took stones and made a heap. This is the mount that we're talking about. He took stones, made a heap, and Laban said, this heap, this mount, this hill is a witness between me and thee. Therefore, he called the name of that, here it is, Gilead. Ha-Gilead. Ha-Har-Galad. That's what it was. Ha-Har-Galad. The mount of the heap, or the mount. What was the heap? What was, I forget right off. We'll forget in a second. And Jacob said to Laban, and Jacob and Laban slaughtered a slaughter. There it is. They say offered a sacrifice. Slaughtered a slaughter. Azavik. Remember, it's something that we're going to eat. It's a covenant that we're going to kill and we're going to eat it upon the mount. And they ate there by the heap. And they carried it in the mount all night. Or they tarried in the mount all night. And Laban rose early in the morning, and he wept with his daughters, and he kissed them, and he returned unto this place. Well, that's where we left him in the very last chapter that we read in Torah. What a nice man. He said goodbye to his daughters. Well, here's the rest of the story. And he hastened and sent off his son Beor. This is his oldest son, who was 17 years old, with Abikorov, the son of Uz. So we know this is the son of Nahor. This Uz is the uncle of Laban. So Uz is his cousin, and this guy's the son of him. So we got some family that came down with him. And with it says son of Nahor, and with them were 10 men. Listen to what he's going to tell them. And they hastened and went and passed on the road before Jacob. And they came. What does it say? Did it say what they were going to tell him? I guess he didn't tell them yet. And they hastened and went and passed on the road before Jacob. They're going south of the heap. Mahanaim. He's breaking the covenant right away. This is the quality. This is the character of this man. And they came to Esau and said to him, thus says thy brother and relative, thy mother's brother Laban, the son of Bethuel. Okay, so this is the servants telling him this is what Bethuel has to say. If you can speak to me right now, the deep state, the cabal, always accuses people of doing things that they do. What is that called? I'm drawing a blank on it this morning. I was thinking about it earlier. It's kind of like a mirror, or they accuse of projecting. Thanks, Wes. Wes is listening. Projecting. They're projecting. And he's projecting. Listen to what he says. Hast thou heard what Jacob thy brother has done unto me? Who first came to me naked and bare? Did Jacob come to him naked and bare? Not at all. He was clothed. Yeah, he had nothing. He had his rod. We're going to talk about that later. And I went to meet him and brought him to my house with honor, and I made him great. I gave him 2 daughters for women, and also 2 of my maids. Is that what he did? Is that true? Who made Jacob great? Who? The reason that Laban has sons and wealth. He had nothing. He had 2 daughters when Jacob arrived. Then he started getting sons and wealth created because of what Jacob had done for him. He became a very wealthy man. Now he says he made Jacob great. I gave him 2 daughters. You didn't give him 2 daughters. He spent 14 years working for you. All he got was room and board and the daughters for all the 14 years worth of work. And Elohim blessed him on my account. Oh, liar, liar, pants on fire. And he increased abundantly and had sons and daughters and maidservants. This is another reason. See how it says daughters? I crossed out the S because I know Dinah's the only one that they talk about. But was there other daughters? I think there might have been. He has also an immense stock of flocks and herds, camels, asses, also silver and gold in abundance. And when he saw that his wealth increased, he left me whilst I went to shear my sheep. And he rose up and fled in secrecy. And he lifted up his women and his children. Now look at, they're calling him his women and his children, not my women and children. So they know they're his women and his children, his sons, upon camels. And he led away all his cattle and property which he had acquired in my land. And he lifted up his countenance to go to his father Isaac to the land of Canaan. Is this a man who's trying to stir up strife, do you think? Who wants to get Jacob destroyed? What's going to happen to the daughters? Do you see what's going on here? Let me continue. And he did not suffer me to kiss my daughters and their children. So now we're back to their daughters and children instead of his women and his children. And he led my daughters as captives taken by the sword and stole my gods. And he fled. And now I have left him at Har HaGalad. It's so interesting. It says of the brook Jabbok. Well, that didn't even exist until the day before yesterday or yesterday. But they put it in here like it's been there forever, and it's not. By the brook Jabbok. That's the brook Jabbok. We'll talk about that. I've got a map. I haven't opened it yet, but I can open it easily. I'll show you later. And now I left him in Har HaGalad, Galad, of the brook Jabbok. Him and all belonging to him. He lacks nothing. If it be thy wish to go to him, go then, and there wilt thou find him, and thou canst do unto him as thy soul desireth. You know, when Jacob came to Haran, penniless, wasn't naked and bare. He was penniless. He told him what Esau had done and how he sent Eliphaz to steal all the things that would have given Jacob a new start in Haran. He knows the enmity that Esau has towards Jacob. And he's stirring it up. He wants to get Jacob destroyed. And thou canst do unto him as thy soul desireth. And Laban's messengers came and told Esau all these things. And Esau heard the words of Laban's messengers. And his anger was greatly kindled against Jacob. And he remembered his hatred, and his anger burned within him. And Esau hastened and took his sons and servants and the souls of his household, being 60 men. And he went and assembled all Seir the Horites' seed and their people, being 340 men, and took all this number of 400 men with drawn swords, and he went unto Jacob to smite him. Wow. Talk about a climax. What's going to happen? And Esau divided his number into several parts. He took the 60 men of his sons and servants and the souls of his household as one head, and gave them in care of Eliphaz. Eliphaz has to be, he was 15 when he attacked Jacob on the way. He's now 35 years old. A leader of men, good in the field, good with a sword, handy guy to have around if you want to do evil. And gave them in care of Eliphaz, his eldest son. And the remaining heads he gave to the care of the 6 sons of Seir the Horites. And he placed every man under his generations and seed. His generations and seed. We got 360 men that came from these 6 sons of Seir the Horites. How many generations do we have to have to get 360 men? If each of those men has 12, what do we got? 70. 72-ish. That's a far cry from 360. So we're talking about generations of seed. Multiple generations of seed to get 360 men of fighting age. And the whole of the camp went as it was, and Esau went amongst them towards Jacob, and he conducted them with speed. And Laban's messengers departed from Esau. This I don't understand. The men who are stirring up this strife, maybe they were doing what their master said, and now they're going to do what they think is right. I want to believe this is what the messengers are doing. Is Uz a bad guy? I don't think Uz is a bad guy. He's Deborah's father, the nursemaid of Rebecca, and Deborah came, remember, to help Jacob. Deborah's with him right now with Jacob. Oh my God, she's sending him against his own daughter. So maybe Uz wants to preserve these people. So what does he do? They did what they were supposed to do, what Laban told them. But look what it says. And Laban's messenger departed from Esau and went to the land of Canaan. And they came to the house of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. And they told her, saying, Behold, thy son Esau has gone against his brother Jacob with 400 men. For he heard that he was coming, and he has gone to make war with him and to smite him and to take all that he has. This is what's going on. These men are warning Rebekah so Rebekah can send help. Look what happens. And Rebekah hastened and sent 72 men from the servants of Isaac to meet Jacob on the road. For she said, peradventure, Esau may make war in the road when he meets him. Remember, Isaac's seed, just like Jacob's seed, are going to be, are powerful. It was Abraham with 318 men. I think it was 318 men, plus the Hittites that went with them. killed 800,000 men to rescue Lot and his family and the people of Sodom that had been carried away. These guys are powerful. Now she's sending 72 men against 400 men. I'd say the odds are pretty good right now, but it gets better because Yehovah is going to work for them. And these messengers, the 72 men, are called the messengers. Look at it, it says, and Jacob went on his way. Here, I'll open this up. This is Torah. So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of Elohim met him. Who are the angels of Elohim? These are the 72 men that Rebekah sent. When Jacob saw them, he said, this is God's camp. Yes, this is God's people. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Oh, this is so fascinating. Gotta know the story. They start calling them angels, and then we don't have the faintest idea. Look, these are messengers, but they call them angels of Elohim. Angels of Elohim. Messengers of Elohim. Isaac's men. Spiritually born Isaac, a servant of Elohim, is sending messengers. And these messengers went on the road to meet Jacob. And they met him in the road of the brook, on the opposite side of the brook Jabbok. I think they were on the south side, and possibly Jacob and his entourage was on the north side. And Jacob said, when he saw them, this camp is destined to me from Elohim. Yes, he understands. These people are coming because Yehovah has intervened and is helping him. And Jacob called the name of that place Mahanaim. Mahanaim means two camps. Oh, yeah, here. These are the messengers, 72 messengers. Okay, I said that. Let me show you a map. You really need to see a map, I think. It won't take but a second to open it. Please bear with me. It's opening right now. It'll jump over on the screen in just a second. I think I showed it to you last week where Mahanaim is. But I want you to see kind of the big picture where Esau is coming from and what's going on. So let me open this. I got to open the correct map. I call it my main map. And it should open to the spot that I want it to be at. Here is, no, that's not the one. Here it is, Jabbok River. Here's Mahanaim, this side of the river, I think. The Mizpahs that we saw was right about here. And I think the stones is going to be, the Har HaGalad is probably going to be here or here. The messengers that Laban sent, went all the way down to here on this side of the Arnon River is Sair. Nope, I take it back. On this side of the Zerad River is Sair. So they came all the way down here, way south of the pile of rocks that were set up that they promised to do no harm to one another. He broke it the very day that he left, the day after they made the covenant. So he's coming from here. Those messengers came from here, probably came up this pass and went up to either Beersheba or Hebron to talk to Rebekah. Rebekah sending these men from here all the way to here, Mahanaim. Kind of gives you the big picture. It says, and Jacob knew all his father's people, and he kissed them and embraced them and came with them. And Jacob asked them concerning his father and his mother, and they said, they are well. And all these messengers, not angels, messengers, shalakim, said to Jacob, Rebekah, thy mother sent us, shalaked us to thee, saying, I have heard, my son, that thy brother Esau has gone forth against thee on the road with men from Seir, the Horites' seed. Lots of them, 400 of them, in fact. Therefore, my son, hearken to my voice and see with thy counsel what thou wilt do. And when he comes to thee, supplicate him, and do not speak rashly to him, and give him a present from what thou possessest, and from what Elohim has favored thee with. This is a mother's wisdom speaking. Remember, Rebecca, she has good understanding. When Isaac was going to give Esau, God forbid, Elohim forbid, the blessing, she knew better. The blessing could only go to Jacob. So this woman has great wisdom. And now, this is why you honor your mother and your father. Not to say that you obey your mother and father every time, but you certainly listen to what they have to say. They got some wisdom. And they know you. And they know Esau. And when he asked thee concerning thy affairs, conceal nothing from him. Perhaps he may turn his anger against thee. He may turn from his anger against thee, and thou wilt thereby save thy soul, thou and all belonging to thee. For it is thy duty to honor him, for he is thy eldest brother. All right, there's some wisdom in there. He is his eldest brother. Yeah, by minutes, but he's still his eldest brother. And when Jacob heard the words of his mother, which the messengers had spoken to him, Jacob lifted up his voice and wept bitterly. And he did as his mother had commanded him. Oh, we're not going to see how Elohim intervenes today. How are we doing on time? I got 1:51. I really like to get through the next chapter 32 of Genesis. Let's try. Because next week I want to talk about what's going to happen here. 32. Here it is. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of Elohim met him. No, the messengers of God met him, his family. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's camp." Yes, it is God's camp. These people came from the servants of Isaac, who is Elohim's servant. He named it Mahanaim. Here, Mahanaim, 2 camps. I think it's interesting, too. It says Mahanaim. Well, I guess it makes sense. 2 camps, Mahanaim. I put it as a qualitative plural. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. There are 2 camps. So Machana would be a camp. So Mahanaim, I suppose, would be 2 camps. Elohim's camp sent by Rebecca, and Jacob's camp. Remember, keep in mind here, that Jacob is the current Melchizedek. Remember the Melchizedek? The Melchizedek? The king of the righteous, or the king of righteousness. The highest authority in Yehovah's kingdom was Noah. Then it was Shem. And I'm just talking this side of the flood. Noah, then Shem, then Abraham, then Isaac, and now it's Jacob. We're going to see it in a minute. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. Yes, remember, Seir, it's not Seir yet. It's not Edom yet. It's going to become Edom when Esau and his men kill all of Seir, the Horites' men, and take that place for themselves. That's when it's going to be called Edom. That's the quality of the man that Esau is. He's using these men to kill his brother Jacob, but he's going to kill them in time. They don't even know it. Jacob sent. messengers. Shalakim. There it is, messengers. It gets translated as angels. It's messengers. Same word is up here where they call it angels. Here. Messengers. Yehovah's messenger. Oh, I guess I don't have it. I don't have messengers. I just have Elohim's. Elohim. Oh, messengers. Melech. Messengers. Yeah, okay, that's it right there. Melech. They're messengers. So what is this one here? Melech. Okay, again. So they translated one as messengers and one as angels. Discretionary translation. I hate that. Got to keep the they don't have a way to explain where these messengers came from because they don't give you the whole story. I think it's because they want Jacob to look bad. They want Esau to look good. They want Laban to look good. And so they make Jacob look bad. Why is that? Could it be who is the publishers of the Bibles that we have these days? I wonder. So let's continue. Then Jacob sent messengers, Melechim, before him to Esau, his brother, in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, speak thus to Adonai Esau, my lord Esau. It's the word Adonai. He's given him honor. I don't know that he has that great respect for Esau, but this is a little bit of diplomacy that's taking place. Adonai, speak to Adonai Esau, thus your servant Jacob says, I have dealt with Laban and stayed there until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, male and female servants. I have sent to tell my Lord, tell Adonai, that I may find favor in thy sight. Then the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to thy brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet thee with 400 men, and 400 men are with him. And Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that were with him and the flocks and the herds and camels into two companies. And he said to Esau, if Esau comes to one company and attacks it, then the other company, which is left, will escape. So he's got two companies. Remember, he's got two camps. I think he's putting the camp that Rebekah sent ahead of his family and his camp. They're much younger. But watch what happens now. So he says, if one of the companies are attacked, then the other company will be left. And Jacob said, Elohim of my father Abraham, Isaac, the Elohim of my father, the evil Elohim of my father Abraham, the Elohim of my father Isaac, Yehovah, who said to me, return to thy country and to thy family, and I will deal well with thee. He's reminding Yehovah the promise that he made. Yehovah's going to honor his word. I'm not worthy of the least of all these mercies and of all the truth which you have shown thy servant, him. For I crossed over the Jordan with my staff. There it is, you guys. The staff. He crossed over the Jordan with my staff, and now I have become two companies. He had nothing when he crossed over the Jordan the first time. The clothes on his back and a staff in his hands. It was the rod of Elohim. Let me show you. In other words, Jacob left Canaan with just his staff, the rod of Elohim and the clothes on his back, and now he has come. Now he has two companies, Mahanaim, with him. Here's the rod of Elohim, was a possession of all the Melchizedeks. Look at this. This is interesting. It went from Adam to Noah. Actually, there was probably others even between Adam and Noah. I'm sure that Methuselah, I'm sure that Enoch, I'm sure that Canaan all had that rod of Elohim. But they went from Adam and they jumped straight to Noah. It's after the flood, of course. Shem, Abraham, and now Jacob. Look what it says. And when Jacob had fled to Paddan Aram, he's going to Haran, he took it in his hand, and when he returned to his father, he had not left it behind. He still got the rod of Elohim. He is the highest authority, spiritual authority in Yehovah's kingdom right now. He knows it. I crossed over with this rod, over the Jordan with my staff, and now I have become two companies. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me, the mother and the children, the mothers and the children. It says mother and children. And here, mother, sons, children, sons, mother and sons. For you said, I will surely treat you well, and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, and as the sea which cannot be numbered in multitude. Yehovah has to honor his promise. You know, we're going to see next week that Jacob's going to think that something that he did caused him safety and not even know what Yehovah did. Esau is going to know what Yehovah did, but he's not going to say anything to Jacob. It's so interesting. So he lodged there that same night and took what came to his hand as a present for Esau, his brother. He's going to divide. Remember, he's already divided into two camps. Now he's going to take his goats, his sheep. Well, here, I'll just read it. So he lodged there that same night and took what came to his hand as a present for Esau. 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 60 milk camels. Milk camels, I didn't know camels gave milk. I guess they do. With their foals, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 foals. And he delivered them to the hand of his servants, every drove by itself, and said to his servants, pass over before me and put some distance between successive droves. He is making 10 groups of servants with animals, spaced evenly apart, so that when Esau comes to them, hopefully they're going to mollify his attitude. I think mollify is the word I want. His attitude, so that he doesn't want to destroy Jacob. That's his plan. It's kind of what his mother suggested. Take care of him. Share what you have. It says, then he delivered him to the hands of his servants, every drove by itself, and said to his servants, pass before me and put some distance between successive droves. And he commanded the first one, saying, when Esau, my brother, meets you and asks you, saying, whom do you belong and where are you going? Whose are these in front of you? Talking about the animals. Then he shall say, they are your servant Jacob's. It is a present to my Lord, to Adonai Esau, and behold, he also is behind us. And he commanded the second and the third and all the following droves. I put Yasher says there were 10 droves. In this manner, saying, in this manner, you shall speak to Esau when you find him. And also say, behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the with the present that goes before me, and afterwards I will see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. So the present went on over before him, but he himself lodged that night in the camp. And he arose that night and took his 2 women, his 2 female servants, Zilpah and Bilhah, and his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of Yavuk. So I'm not sure which side of the ford they're on at this point. Honestly, I can't tell. He took them, sent them over the brook, and sent over what he had. I think he's separating himself from them. I would like to think that he put them on the north side. He's on the south side to meet Jacob with the 10 groups of animals, the presents that he's sending. What do they call them? I forget. Herds, droves. Called them droves. I'd like to think that he's there by himself. It says, then Jacob was left alone. All right, there he's left alone. I think he's on the south side of the river. And it says, a man, what does it say? What's the word here? It says, a man, an Ish, wrestled with him until daybreak. Now, when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the sock. They put he in capital letters. I think this is the man. They want to make it Jesus, or who knows what their crazy interpretations are. They put a capitalized letter. They capitalize man. I mean, you guys, you're being set up. He says he touched him in the socket of his hip. And the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled. Well, this socket that we're talking about is this word right here. Yarak. Yarak. It says the hollow, the kaf, the hollow of a hand, palm, animal, soul, sling, bowl. Yeah, we'll move on. It says the hollow of Jacob's genitals. We're talking about genitals. This is the Yarak. Remember when Eliezer put his hand under Jacob's, they said, thigh. It was under his Yarak that he put his hand. I know it's kind of strange to make an oath, putting your hand under your master's Yarak. All right. That's what they did. Here, Yarak, a feminine singular noun meaning thigh, a side, a base. The word is used of Jacob's thigh in the story of wrestling with Elohim. Wrestling with Elohim. It says wrestling with a man. What are they talking about? Wrestling with Elohim. And most likely used euphemistically of genitals. It could be it is not his hip at all, but rather his genitals. I put rapture is a hernia, especially of the groin and intestines. This is likely what is going on. Here in inguinal hernia, signs and symptoms include pain or discomfort in your groin, especially when bending over, coughing, or lifting. Occasionally, a pain and swelling around the testicles when the protruding intestine descends into the scrotum. Yeah, this is what inguinal hemorrhoid, inguinal, what did I say that was? I lost it. That doesn't matter. Let's keep it going. I want you to see what this Yarak is, just so you know what we're talking about. It says, all the persons who went with Jacob to Egypt, who came from his loins, his Yarak. Besides Jacob's sons' wives, they did not come from his Yarak, were 66 persons in all. Here it says in Exodus 1, and all the souls that came out of the loins, the Yarak, of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. Yarak, talking about balls, testicles. Is that what is hurting? Here, this is Yarak again. This is, I don't know if this is ancient Hebrew of the Bible or, I want to say, no, this is Strong's. From meaning to be soft, the thigh, from especially softness, by euphemism, the generative parts, figurative, the shank, the flank, the side. Yeah, that's what they want to do. We're not talking about that. We're talking about where kids come from. He's injured after he has 11 sons, but he's still going to have another son. Has that son, I don't think he has, Ben. Has Benjamin been created yet? That's not the word I really want. I wonder. Here, this injury would explain a lot of things. Why didn't Jacob go with his servants to rescue Dinah? He was hurting. He was in pain. Why didn't Jacob run to tell his sons what had happened to Dinah? Again, he couldn't run. Why did Jacob call Ben the son of my right hand? Son of my right hand. See, now we got into Ben. How does Ben and his Yarak fit together? Consummated. Consummated? No, that's not the word I'm looking for. What do you call when that child is created? Why did Jacob, I said that. Why did he move his tent near to Bilhah's tent and not Leah's tent? Is it possible that Bilhah, being Rachel's handmaid, had inside info concerning his injury and didn't want the others to know about it? You know, all these things that we see and we question why they're even mentioning them could come back to this injury that he sustained this night. Now, it goes on. This is so strange. So let me finish. And he said, let me go, for the day breaks. And he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. You bless me. He's talking to the man to bless him. And he said, and so he said to him, what is thy name? He said, Jacob. And he said, your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with Elohim and with men. You know, I think that it's possible that Jacob, dare I say, was wrestling with himself, the spiritual man versus the flesh man, the man who wants to trust in Elohim, and the man who wants to fear his brother Esau. There's a conflict there that has to be addressed. Now, did he get the name Israel here? I'm here to tell you, I don't think he did. Because the name Israel, here, this is, we're in 32. Here's 35. And Jacob said to him, and Elohim said to him, this is at What is the name of the place? Where Yehovah made his promise. Bethel, the house of Elohim. He made an altar here at Bethel. It's the last altar he made to Yehovah. He was going back discouraged. Made an altar, slept on the rock. Well, actually slept on the rock, and then he made the altar the next day after Yehovah spoke to him. But Yehovah said, continue on. I'll be with you. You'll come back rich. I'll do all that I said I would. He's going to come back to this place, and this is what he's doing right here. And Elohim said to him, your name is Jacob. Your name is Jacob. Your name shall not be called Jacob anymore, but Israel shall be thy name. So he called his name Israel. I think this is where Jacob got the name Israel. It wasn't back here in Genesis 32. You have to figure it out for yourself. But Yasher helps. Let's continue. That was a freebie. Then Jacob asked, saying, tell me your name. I said that. Then Jacob asked, saying, tell me your name, I pray. And he said, why is it that you ask about my name? And he blessed him there. What does that even mean? I don't know. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel. Peniel means El's face. Here's El, Peniel, El's face. And I have seen Peniel, for I have seen God's Elohim's face. I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. As I say, I think he was wrestling with himself. What could he have been wrestling with? So it says, just as he crossed over Peniel, the sun rose on him, and he limped on his hip. It says hip. It's Yarek. He limped on it. He limped on his Yarek. His testicles were hurting. I'm being nice. Therefore to this day, Israel's seed, Ezra men, do not eat the muscle of the shank, which is in the, what do you think it says? Which is in the Yarek. Unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's Yarek, and the sinew that shrank. Did he get a hernia? I think that's exactly what happened to him. Well, we're going to stop here. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so grateful that you did. You guys, next week's going to be even more interesting. Wait till you see what Yehovah is going to do to protect Jacob. And he's not even going to know it. Oh my goodness. Oh my Elohim. You guys, see you later. Bye now.